So as I say, a warm welcome to this CT webinar in partnership with Object First. Firstly, thank you for everyone who's signed up to today's webinar, but most importantly, thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule. It's very much appreciated, so you can join us for what is going to be a very informative and insightful session with our partner Object First. I'm really excited to be launching this new partnership and enhancing CT's offering, and I'm confident that you will find the next hour a really good use of your time. So speaking on today's call, you've got myself, Matt Atkinson, and I'm the sales manager here at Central Technology. I'm joined by my colleague, Chris Barr, co-founder of CT and currently working as CT's technical director, Walter Behrens, sales engineer for EMEA at Object First, and finally David Johnson, channel sales director for EMEA at Object First. So to give you a bit of background about who CT are, and our roots, if you like, in terms of where we've come from, we've been established for over 20 years. Predominantly, we started out as a managed IT services provider, and we now offer an extensive range of solutions ranging from managed IT support, cloud and data protection services, cybersecurity, and connectivity and comms solutions. We're a UK privately owned business with our head office in the heart of the UK in the centre at Chesterfield, with two further offices in Leicester and Dorset, enabling nationwide reach across the UK. As a business, we're 100 strong in terms of employee and headcount across the various offices. We currently have just under 10 petabytes of data in our control, all within our own UK private cloud. All of that is hosted across 4 UK data center locations, giving us total end-to-end control of the solutions we provide and removing our reliance on third-party providers. But also from a data sovereignty and GDPR perspective, you can be assured your data will never leave the UK. Our team provide 24/7, 365 days a year support across all of the various solutions we provide. We're an ISO 9001 and 27001 accredited business, and importantly, that's a full scope accreditation. So from the office front door to the data center locations, you can be assured data security is of the utmost importance to us and at the heart of what we do. We're also proud to be a Veeam Platinum VCSP. That's a Veeam Cloud and Service provider. So we're accredited and recognized to the highest standard by Veeam themselves. A quick overview of some of the key cloud and data protection services and what we provide within this space. We have secure cloud backup with immutability, which includes Veeam Cloud Connect and S3 compatible storage. We have secure on-premise immutability, and that's Object First, and the reason you're on this webinar today. So we'll be taking a deeper dive into that one shortly. We have secure disaster recovery as a service for Hyper-V and VMware workloads, and secure cloud backup for Microsoft 365. On all of these services, we have a simplified and predictable billing model, so no API, egress, or other unexpected charges. And if you're an IT reseller and joining the webinar today, if you're an IT reseller, managed service provider, or systems integrator, we offer a channel partner program, so you can offer the above solutions at competitive pricing to your clients. And our channel manager, Elliot Firth, will be following up with you after the session to discuss this offering in further detail if you don't already work with CT as a channel partner. CT are market leading within the cloud and data protection services space. We were recently awarded Backup for Microsoft 365 Partner of the Year Award by Veeam, and that's testament for our team's ongoing success and dedication to deliver the best in breed solutions within the space. We're first to market immutable cloud storage to EMEA a number of years ago, and we're now proud to be the first UK reseller of Object First and their Ootbi appliances, and most importantly, we are the only VCSP Platinum partner to be offering Object First Ootbi appliances. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague, Chris Barr, who's going to be explaining more about why we've partnered with Object First. Chris, over to you.
Thanks, Matt. So we've long been an advocate of Veeam products. We deliver end-to-end data protection and availability solutions, and that's in conjunction with the on-premises hardware and our own cloud services. Prior to Object First Ootbi appliance, there wasn't a purpose-built backup appliance for Veeam. It was possible to build your own hardware hardened repositories using off-the-shelf hardware. However, purpose-built appliances are generally favoured by IT departments. They're simpler to manage. They provide the confidence that the data stored on them is secure, and you don't need that specialist knowledge around, say, Linux operating systems. So we see that the Ootbi appliance fills that gap perfectly. And so when we're looking at designing a Veeam-based solution to deliver that end-to-end data protection and the on-premises backup, the Ootbi appliance will provide all the immutability and also the performance, so customers can leverage that instant recovery functionality within Veeam. We see these days that the requirements around disaster recovery are changing. Previously, things like the replication functionality within Veeam were designed around the traditional threats, things like fire, flooding, theft. These days, when you're speaking to customers, the main requirement when they talk about disaster recovery is around security threats. And unfortunately, the nature of a replica is that it's going to be the same as the primary. And the requirement is then, can we have something that's immutable and something that we can recover from? And with the instant recovery feature within Veeam, you can do that. And with the Ootbi appliance, with the performance it offers, then you can power those VMs on out of the immutable backup files from the fast storage in a position to get back up and running again. So we've been using the Ootbi appliance internally for quite a while now, and we've installed it in one of the data center locations. We can vouch for the simplicity. You open the box, you've got the appliance, you've got a single A4 sheet. It goes through all the steps you need to get up and running quickly. You plug it in, you've got a DHCP, automatic IP address, and you're straight on the network, and 15 minutes is quite realistic. The guide then takes you through creating the bucket and getting you up and running and linking that in with Veeam. So we tested it, and the repositories we have already, as you can imagine, are already quite fast, very fast. And in comparison with the, comparing against the Ootbi appliance, the tests we ran against that over the fast local area connection, the Ootbi appliance was substantially faster still. So there's a case study on that if everyone wants to look into a bit more detail. So certainly in that, it gives you that confidence that in a security incident, you want to get up and running again quickly. That will give you that that protection against the impact of a ransomware attack, for example. So we're now using the Ootbi appliance to protect all of those servers on our own internal corporate network, and yeah, it's been a fantastic fit into the the Veeam solution we have. Yeah, and back to you, Matt.
Right. Hello, everybody. So I'm going to be talking to you a little bit about kind of the beginning of Veeam, or beginning of Object First and how we came. So for those of you that know Veeam quite well, you'll know that Ratmir and Andre created Veeam in 2006 and sold off in 2020. And after they sold off Veeam, they basically set about creating a solution that they never quite was able to create whilst they're at Veeam, which was a physical box to be that repository that they can point their created solution to. So they did this with one overall mission in mind, and that mission was to not allow any business in the world to ever have to pay a ransomware cost again. And they did that by a set of visions, which were to deliver the best storage repository specifically for Veeam, to make it ransomware proof, therefore to make it immutable out of the box, and to basically follow the zero trust data resilience guides as best and closely as possible. Now, to kind of talk to you about like the landscape of what that, where this fits, ransomware attacks are becoming increasingly more sophisticated as time goes on. Now, obviously, backup solutions have been around for quite a while, and you reverse the clock 15 years ago or more, almost everybody would have had some form of a NAS box as their primary kind of storage box. As more ransomware attacks have gone on, they've increasingly started to target those backup areas, and those NAS boxes and SAN environments inherently just were never built to be like another step of secure and make it really immutable. And that wasn't their focus. Their focus was just that physical and quick recovery from environment. As more and more people started to get hit, more solution providers started to create bigger and better solutions, things like deduplication, things like hard Linux repositories. The complexity then started to increase. Gartner has effectively always rated Veeam in the top right-hand quadrant of the Magic Quadrant for the last couple of years now. And the only issue, or the only thing they've ever said that Veeam could potentially do better, is to effectively bring out a solution themselves that would help that complexity from a partner point of view, because Veeam obviously take care of that backup environment. But once it's being pointed somewhere, partners across the globe have had to go out there and kind of upskill themselves on multiple different solutions to try and stay ahead. And so this is kind of where we have then created our gap, created our product to fit within that whole, well, what are the attacks doing? People are getting frustrated of how complex it is to stay on top of things. And then lastly, during an actual, many of you, especially the end users, many of you will have to go through a disaster recovery kind of simulation, a test to kind of see, what happens if an attack happens, how do we bring our data back? And 82% of administrators currently in an end user environment don't actually feel that in a live environment, if something was to happen, if they were to lose their data and needed it back up as running, that they'd be able to recover that data fast enough as time has gone on and solutions have developed. So this has kind of then built us into 3 different pillars, what we consider 3 core values, which is to make a solution that is powerful, to make a solution that is secure, and to make a solution that is really, really simple. We believe that our competitors that start to kind of answer some of these questions, they might be able to get 1 right, they might be able to get 2 right, but it's very often that they can't get all 3 right. And I'll hand over to my colleague to go into exactly what that means.
Yeah, good morning. Thank you, David. This slide, Zero Trust. It is a new concept embraced by the IT industry and also the US government. The principles are very simple in the ZTDR document. Assume there is a bridge, make it explicit, and all the rights, least privilege. You've got a lot of Zero Trust documents, think about for networking, but this one is new, Zero Trust Data Resilient, and this one is especially for backup environments. So there are some principles in the ZTDR document, and you see them below. One of them is to separate your backup software from your backup storage, and ensure that the attack surface between those is a minimum. In our solution, the communication path between the backup software and the hardware is only the S3 protocol. Follow the 3-to-1 rule. Save your backup files on multiple storage objects, and also use immutable backup storage. Yes. Like David also says, we've got 3 key values: secure, simple, and powerful. Secure, when you deploy our appliance, it is out-of-the-box immutability. In other words, when you create your first bucket on the Ootbi node, it is immutable by default. You don't have to put any settings for configuring the Ootbi node, because everything is fully optimized to work with Veeam and Veeam only. We only support Veeam. Why it is also secure is you don't have access to root. Also, the implementator has no access to root. The end user doesn't have, and if necessary, only tech support of Object First in the US or in Poland can have root access if necessary. Is it simple? It is really simple. In this sheet, you see that you can deploy an Ootbi node within 15 minutes. When you do it for the second time, I think 6 minutes is also possible. When you put the Ootbi node in your rack, you can power it on, connect a monitor and a keyboard, and you've got a very simple visit to configure the Ootbi node. Later in this presentation more, then you can see how simple it is in real. Powerful, also a keyword. It is very important to make your backups very fast, but it is maybe more important to also restore very fast your environment. We support in a full cluster 80 instant recoveries, and when the machine is powered on, you can migrate the instant recoveries in your background. And the whole Ootbi node, which stands for out-of-the-box immutability. Also, the product name is fully ransomware proof. So that is our solution. When you look on this slide on the left side, you see a production environment. Next to it, the backup server, Windows with Veeam. And Veeam uses backup storage. And we have got a few different type of backup storage. The first direct attached storage on NAS, dedupe appliances, hardened Linux repositories, and our own solution, object storage. When we look to the keywords again, you can say with -NAS, it is very powerful. It depends on what type of disks are in it, but it can be very powerful. It's most of the time simple to configure, iSCSI, SMB. Is it secure? Not, because it doesn't deliver immutable storage. And when your backup server is attacked by ransomware, it has it can have a direct connection with your backup file location and also encrypt your backup files. So it is not secure. The second one is a dedupe appliance. Is it secure? We have to believe our vendors. We cannot say something about it, but it is most of the time not very simple to configure. You have to optimize it, for example, for Veeam or Commvault or other vendor. For making a backup, it can be powerful, but for restoration of virtual machines, most of the time they are very slow. The third one is the hardened Linux repository, very powerful. The deployment of the hardened Linux repository is simple, but you have to do the hardening by yourself. And that is not simple, and you need a lot of security expertise and a lot of experience of the Linux operating system. Depending on how good your hardening was, you can say something about if it is secure or not. And at last, our own solution. It is powerful. It is simple. You can deploy it in 15 minutes. You don't have to put any settings on it because everything is optimized directly for Veeam. Is it secure? Yes. No access to root and immutable by default. And on the left side, you see the attack surface between the backup software and the backup storage. We use only the S3 protocol, and that is an HTTPS stream. Positioning of our product, Ootbi, out-of-the-box immutability. You can use it as your primary backup target in your primary data center. But if you've got 2 data centers, you can also put it in a second data center and with a copy job make a copy of the latest backup to a secondary target. Maybe also possible as a secondary target by central technology. And if you want to use the backup as a service option, you can also send it to a central technology cloud environment for long-term retentions. That are the possibilities of our Ootbi node and where and how to position the Ootbi node in your data center. Why object storage? The founders saw in the past that backup storage was not innovated over a long time. It was still file storage and block storage. But today we've got also another technology, and that is called object storage. It's a good technology because it is cloud native. It supports large data volumes. It has a built-in security. Think about immutability. And it provides storage capacity against a lower price. The Ootbi node itself, here you see a part of the Ootbi node. What it contains is NVMe disk, HDD disk, and hot spare disk, all configured in a RAID 6 array. The Ootbi node itself has 4 network cards, 2 of the type SFP Plus and 2 of the type 10BST. You can use 2 network cards at the same time with the same medium. So or you use the 2 SFP Plus or 2 10BSTs. And on the back side, we've got 2 SSD disks configured in a RAID 1 for high availability, and there is the operating system installed. It's a Linux kernel, which is fully hardened and secure. And we've spoken about the attach surface between your backup server and your backup storage. It was an HTTPS stream, S3 protocol. And what is new in Veeam 12, that was the SOS API. It is a new set of SOS, a new set of S3 extensions created by Veeam. With the SOS API, you have got an integration of the storage without installing a plugin. And when you see on the picture, there is an S3 storage repository with the type S3 integrated. It is the blue bucket. And the S3 integrated means that it uses the SOS API. It uses one or more features of the SOS API. In our case, we use all the features of the SOS API. And for example, if a competitor uses only the storage visibility feature, it has a blue bucket, it has the S3 integrated type, but it doesn't use all the features. And the rest of the features, it breaks large jobs into smart entities, smart placement, load balancing, and network access. And those features are key in our performance. How does the Ootbi node works? We've talked about the SOS API in the previous slide, and here the blue line, you can see that the Veeam VBR server is communicating with the cluster of Ootbi nodes. In an Ootbi cluster, if you buy one Ootbi node, you always install it in a cluster. And in the cluster, we can have a maximum on this moment of 4 Ootbi nodes. The blue line here is the communication part between the VBR and the cluster. And this is the SOS API. When you make your first backup, In this case, you see a backup job with 4 virtual machines. And when the first Ootbi node is getting full, you can add a second Ootbi node in your cluster. And then you see that the bucket will be stretched over the 2 Ootbi nodes. And when the 2 Ootbi nodes are getting full, you can place another Ootbi node, and the bucket will be stretched over the 3 Ootbi nodes, etc., till you have 4 Ootbi nodes in a cluster. You also see that Microsoft 365 is supported by us, but on this moment it doesn't use the advantage of the SOS API. When there is a new version of Microsoft 365 and it will support the SOS API, then it communicates directly with the cluster. In this case, it still communicates directly with a bucket. When we started at Object First, we started with 2 appliances, the 64 terabyte and the 128 terabyte. And when we talk to customers and partners, everybody says we want more. And 2 weeks ago on Veeam 1, we launched our bigger brother, the 192 terabyte appliance, and will be available in Q4 for EMEA. All Ootbi appliances has the same configuration, same performance, but also the same security. The only difference in the Ootbi node is the size of the disks. And for the rest, everything is the same. So when you have an Ootbi node of 192 terabyte with 4 nodes in a cluster, you can scale in a cluster to 768 terabyte. And in a cluster, you can mix all type of Ootbi nodes. For example, you can have a cluster with 164, 128, and 2 192s, for example. What is new? We've spoken about the 192, available Q4 in a cluster scalable to 768 terabyte. But when you have installed the latest version of Veeam, we can scale much further because it now supports multiple extents with the SOS API functionality. And in that case, that is the reason we can now scale up to 3 petabyte. Also, the security, the latest version, it was available 3 weeks ago. It is again third-party tested. A new hardening profile is created, and for timing we support NTS and also NTP, but NTP is not the safest time protocol, so we also support NTS on this moment. Here an overview why we are saying the best stores for Veeam. So I'm starting now the live demo, and we'll start with the demo. One moment, please. I hope everybody can see the screen. Yeah. So during the presentation, we spoke about the 3 words, secure, simple, and powerful. This is, I think, one of the reasons why we are saying it is simple. When you install and rect your Ootbi node, connect, for example, a monitor and a keyboard to the appliance, or have access with the Ootbi management interface for accessing the node. Ootbi is the same as the HP ILO or the Dell iDRAC. But this is when you power on the machine, this is the first screen you see, but also the only screen, because the operating system is fully hardened, and we created a simple wizard for configuring an Ootbi node. When you've got your first Ootbi node, you always install it in a cluster. And we choose the option set up a new cluster. This is a movie, and during the movie, I will tell you what you see. So the Ootbi node has two network cards. It is asking for the first physical network card, what kind of IP address to use. In this case, IP address 60, correct the subnet mask, default gateway and DNS. Then it is asking for the second network card, in this case, IP address 61. So we don't configure an LLCP trunk or something like that. Both network cards have their own IP address, default gateway DNS. Then it is asking for the host name. In our case, we call it Ootbi01 and click on next. Then the IP addresses will be applied on the physical network cards and check if internet connectivity exists. If it exists and it has a connection to the repository service of Object First, it will also update the appliance. So when it is checked and updated, then it is asking for a cluster name. In our case, we call it Ootbi with a cluster IP address. So in this case, the cluster IP address will be 70. So what we've done, we power on the unit. The first network card, we give the IP address, the second an IP address. It asks for a host name, a cluster name, and a cluster IP address. It's very simple. And now we click on next. And it is asking for the first user in the system, Object First, form password. The cluster is configured. And then we've got our last screen that the cluster is completely successful configured. You also see two URLs. One is the S3 endpoint. We use it for Veeam to make connection to the repositories and the buckets. And the second one is for the web UI. So this movie takes 2 minutes and 22 seconds. In real, I think it is about 5 minutes, but here you can see how simple it is, how to configure the Ootbi node. I think we've got now 95% configured on the Ootbi node. So now we are jumping to the web UI. This is the web UI. You see here again the IP address of the cluster and the port. The first time you log in on this web page, there's a simple wizard, and the wizard tells you what to do. The first thing you have to do is click on S3 bucket, click on create bucket, give the bucket a name. Here you see enable versioning. This makes the bucket immutable by default, and it is enabled by default. Click on create. And the bucket is created. My name 07, versioning enabled. Click on close. And here you see the buckets in our system. It's very easy and simple to create a bucket. Then we go to S3 keys and we create a key for accessing the bucket. It's very simple. Click create key. The key are generated by the system. And here you can copy the content of the access key and the secret access key. You can see it one time. When you click on close, you can never see it again. So copy the access key and the secret access key directly. Click on close. I think now we've got 99% of the configuration ready, and the only thing we have to do is we go to setting, date, and fill in the correct time server. I always advise use the same time server you also use for the VBR server. So what we've done, the initial configuration, we created a bucket and we created an S3 key. And now we go to Veeam server itself, backup infrastructure, repositories. Here you see buckets to an Ootbi node. What we said in the presentation, S3 integrated. It uses one or more features of the SOS API. The Ootbi node use all the features. Add a new repository, object storage, S3 compatible, S3 compatible, adds S3 compatible object storage, smart object storage API. This is what we want to have. Click on next. The service point, this is the IP address of the cluster of the Ootbi node. Select the access key and the secret access key. Select a bucket. My name is 07. Make a new folder. And select it. OK. And then check this box. And this makes the backup files immutable for the number of days. So when you want to have an immutability of 30 days, leave it default. If you want to have 14 days, you can fill in 14. Click on next, select the mount per server, apply, finish, and the repository is created. It's very simple. I don't do it in Wheel, otherwise we've got a lot of buckets in our system. So when this is how we create the repository. During the presentation, we've spoke about smart entities, the SOS API, that it is a key in the performance for making a backup to the Ootbi appliance, but also fast restores. It also has a load balancing function. And here, when we go to a backup job, for example, this one, we see that we've got a backup job with 4 virtual machines. We click on the virtual machine and we browse in the logging. And we see here that the backup file was sent to IP address 61. The other backup file, this one also to 61. This one was sent to 60. This one also to 60. So the Ootbi node itself, it has 2 physical network cards, and both are used by Veeam, and Veeam is load balancing the backup files over the 2 physical network cards. So if you've got an Ootbi cluster of, for example, 4 Ootbi nodes, then you've got in totally 8 IP addresses. And the load will be balanced over the 8 IP addresses. And that is the increasement you see when you've got more Ootbi nodes. The capacity is linear scalable, but also the ingress and the egress speed to and from the Ootbi nodes. And that is the feature of load balancing smart entities and smart placement, and that are the additional features we all use with the SOS API. Now we're going back to the web UI and show you some other options. Here you see you've got a warning. SSH is enabled, but it is disabled by default, but we enable it so it generates a message. So you can see that it is recommended to disable it. We are testing our power supply to generate messages. This is also the general dashboard. Storage capacity, it also does a forecast. Performance counters, monitoring, S3 APIs, put gets, send, receive, CPU. The nodes, we install it as Ootbi 01, IP address of the first network card, serial number, capacity, how much in use and free. This is the front side with the disks, NVMe, spare disk, CPU and memory. Networking 60 and 61. MTU size 9000, default is 1500. We are testing with it, the link speed. Disk characteristics. Buckets we have seen and created. It's very simple to create a bucket. The S3 keys, we've done it. Users, the first user is object first, and you can create additional named users in the system. The role is administrator, which only means that you can create a bucket and an access key and change some other values like a time server, but no root access. Everything is logged. Another view, the cluster and the Ootbi node, corresponding IP addresses. The Ootbi node, it is disabled in our case. For security, we saw a message that SSH was enabled. You see it here, that it is enabled here. We can change the password of object first. If you want to protect the web page, you can enable a two-factor authentication, Google Authenticator of the Authenticator of Microsoft. Use your own certificates if you want, sign it, and a whitelist. This is a firewall which is embedded in the operating system, and here you can allow only the IP addresses of the Veeam server or Veeam services. Date and time, NTP, NTS. Notification if there is a disk failure. It can send traps by email to your system. Cluster update. If the Ootbi node has access to internet, it will update. It will download the update in the background. And if it is available, this button pops up and you can click on update cluster. It takes about 3-4 minutes and then the update is fully installed. If the Ootbi node has no internet access, you can also download the update bundle via the support site, download it to your laptop, click on upload bundle, select the file, and then the file will be uploaded, and then this button comes available to update the cluster. And for maintenance, maybe you want to shut down or reboot your cluster. If tech support asks for the support bundle in case of a problem, you can click on generate support bundle and send it via the website to tech support. And this is then also the end of the presentation and the live demo.
Thanks, Walter, and thanks all for that really informative presentation, but in particular that all-important demonstration of the Ootbi solution. Obviously, I'm conscious there's a number of attendees on the webinar today who aren't potentially technical. There is a mix, so appreciate some of that may have been technical overload, if you like, but that's where CT are here to help and support you, all part of the managed solution and offering that CT offer. On screen now, you will see indicative pricing as the standard retail list pricing for the 64 and 128 terabyte units that are currently available in the UK. As Walter mentioned earlier, the 192 terabyte unit is not currently available. That launches in Q4, we're hoping. So the back end of this year, we're hoping that we can offer the 192 appliance. CT are a gold partner with Object First, and as an attendee of the webinar today and as part of our launch, we will be offering discounted pricing to those that you see on screen. Obviously, the team will be reaching out in the coming days to discuss your requirements and obviously commercials in greater detail, but we just obviously wanted to share what the standard list price is, and again, the rental model is based on those. So you know, in the next quarter, for example, it will be a discounted offering, and we are looking for case studies as well. So please do bear that in mind. Also wanted to mention that if you're one of the first 20 registrants and have attended this webinar and you're still on the webinar now, you will be receiving a £25 Amazon voucher. So again, we'll be in touch with your voucher as a way of saying thank you for your time and for joining this webinar so promptly today. Also wanted to mention that it has been recorded, so as part of the follow-up, if you want to recap on anything we've touched on today or share with others that have potentially not been able to join this live webinar, don't worry, the team will collate all of the Q&A session that we're heading into now, along with the recording, so you will be able to go back through and recap if you have missed anything in particular. So in advance of today's webinar, we have received a number of questions already, and the Q&A is enabled within this webinar. So if there's anything that we've not touched on, please do raise them now in the Q&A and we'll try and move through them as quick as possible. If there's anything we've not touched, obviously, if we've done a great job, we potentially don't have many more. But if there is anything that's come to mind, please do throw them in the Q&A and the team will work through them. But to touch on some of the initial questions that we've had prior to today's webinar, I'm going to hand over to Chris to cover the first one in terms of what's involved in managing an appliance, installing updates and detecting issues. What's been your experience from doing the proof of concept within CT's environment?
Yeah, I mean, it's all been pretty straightforward, really. And Walter showed it on the demo. It's good to see. You know, in terms of putting the updates on, it's very straightforward. You just have to make sure there's no backups running or restores running at that point in time. It's as long as the appliances have got internet access, they're straightforward to do. And in terms of the managing the appliance and detecting issues, you've got the email alerts that are sent out, and that's pretty much for any scenario in there, whether it's just informational, you know, sort of events, or if you've got say, you know, the typical things that you might come across over time, like, you know, the odd disk failure, things like that, or, you know, storage capacity. If there's a situation, you know, certain thresholds that you'd want to be alerted on that, so you could look and see if there's anything to clear up or if more capacity is needed. So yeah, it's pretty good. I think the main thing there, first thing, get it up and running and get the updates on at day one for anything that's come out, and then as part of everybody's normal patching schedule, just check if there's any to go on, and make sure your notifications are enabled for those email alerts.
Thanks, Chris.
And I think when you look at the available updates, the operating system will be updated, CVEs will be updated, the S3 software will be updated, the hardening is updated and tested every time, but also, if necessary, firmwares of the system will be updated. So it is a bundle. So when you install the Ootbi node, it is secure. And when you keep updating it, it stays secure.
Thanks, Walter. The next question I will take, so is hardware warranty included? Absolutely. There's three. The pricing I showed on screen is all based on 3 years as a buy-in, including the warranty. There's an option to extend that to 5 years, and both of those options are a next business day on-site response. So if a component within the Ootbi appliance does fail, obviously there's resiliency built in out of the box, but you can rest assured that warranty and it is included within the solution. There's no extra costs, and we get proactive alerts on that as well, so we will know if anything has failed within the Ootbi appliance. In terms of support, absolutely, we do offer support. CT prides itself on offering bespoke solutions through and through and supporting clients. So if there's anything you want to look at, it's all part of our managed service and solution stack. We offer consultancy and backup reviews, etc. We are here to support you, guide you. You know, as we touched on earlier, the threats and the attack area is growing. CT is here to help and guide you through that and almost act as a bit of an insurance policy, if you like, to support IT managers and organizations with the ever-growing challenges around backup. So absolutely, we can assist with that from a support point of view. We've just had a question in the chat now. So when immutable storage is enabled, how does the work if doing incremental forever within Veeam, which would merge backups into the full at some point? Does this force another full backup along with the corresponding incrementals? Walter, I'll hand that one to you if that's all right to respond on that.
I cannot see the question.
It's in the published on the Q&A.
Just read out the question again, Matt. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can't see you. So.
Yeah. So when immutable storage is enabled, how does this work if doing it incremental forever within Veeam, which would merge backups into the full at some point? And the question is, does this force another full backup along with corresponding incrementals?
Yeah. As far as I know, when you make a new backup, the latest full will be merged with a new with an incremental into a new file. Now I can see it.
Do you want me to add a bit on that? Because there was when immutability was added, I think it was back in version 10 on Veeam. There was a change to how the say the forever incremental, you know, in particular on the backup copy jobs, how that worked. And I suppose the way I'd always sort of like describe it to people is like, if you think like Pac-Man going along eating the little dots, and that's how the previous, you know, up until that point would work with Veeam. And like I say, the full backup file would change every time. With immutability, that's not possible. So what would happen is you would use the GFS functionality. So where you're creating synthetic restore points, perhaps weekly would be the most appropriate way of doing it. You would create a synthetic restore point every week. And then for the forever incremental, you would end up with those restore points every so often. And as soon as the retention period expired, those older restore points would just be deleted. So the full backups would never change. The important bit with it is, with those synthetic restore points, they don't consume the actual space of that synthetic restore point. With object storage, you have those abstract objects underneath the synthetic restore point. So although it will appear as a synthetic restore point, it will only use the size of what that increment would be. So it sort of breaks up the chain of, rather than a ongoing forever incremental, you'll have those synthetic sort of points of synthetic fulls, backups. So that's how that works around the point of immutability. So those never change, but it won't consume any additional space compared to how you're doing it currently. I hope that, I don't know if that covers it off. If there's got any more questions on that, so drop it in the Q&A.
Perfect. Thank you, Walter and Chris, for covering that so well and hopefully answering the question, which has now been confirmed. That's answered it. So I'm glad we could help with that. We've not actually received any more, so I'm hoping that's because this webinar and this past hour has been really informative, as we expected it to be. But if there is any questions, as Chris says, the team will be following up. If you're an existing CT client, then that will predominantly be your account manager, along with our cloud and data protection services team. They will be in touch and following up with you in the coming days. So if there is anything, please don't hesitate to raise it with them, or you can email Ootbi at That's ootbi@ct.uk with any questions, and we will pick them up immediately as well. We'll probably give it until tomorrow, just in case there's anything that's come in terms of questions. So then we can, as part of the follow-up and the recording of this webinar, circulate the Q&A from today and answer any other questions that come to mind. But I really hope you found this webinar useful, and I look forward to working with you and discussing solutions that CT can offer around Object First Ootbi appliance. Thank you ever so much for attending, and I hope you have a good rest of the day.